The hall of the Galactic Council was a marvel, domed in translucent alloy that shimmered with the pulse of nearby stars, orbiting the neutral world of Vosteran like a crown. Delegates from over 700 species filled their assigned spheres, suspended in silent levitation above the silver chamber floor. The center remained clear, reserved for Earth. And at last, humanity had arrived. Commander Elias Rain stepped from the docking bridge into the council chamber with no escort, no entourage, and no ceremonial garb. His steel-gray uniform bore no rank pins, only the emblem of Earth, a fractured sphere wrapped in flame. No one bowed. No one smiled. The council expected a diplomat. What they got was a soldier. Chancellor Virex Zol rose slowly from the speaker's platform. His violet skin glowed faintly under the chamber's pulse lights. Commander Rain. The council welcomes you as Earth's voice. At long last, unity approaches. Elias didn't speak. He took measured steps toward the center, boots echoing across the floor like hammers in a cathedral. Virex motioned with a slow flick of his talons, and an ornate silver cube hovered between them. Within this treaty are decades of deliberation. It grants your people a seat among us, shared access to resource networks, and defense cooperation. The time of human isolation is over. Elias reached out, took the cube, and turned it once. It glinted like something sacred. He didn't open it. He placed it on the floor beside him, gently, like a bomb, and looked up at the entire chamber. His voice cut through the stillness. Earth declines. A long, jagged silence followed. Rezar of the Trinax Coalition blinked all 12 of his eyes at once. Is that a translation error? Elias turned slightly. No. Whispers rippled across the chamber. Delegates leaned into their communication slates. A few already looked toward the exit hatches. Chancellor Virex recovered first. Commander Rain, perhaps you misunderstand. This offer, this honor, has never been extended to a pre-ascendant race. Earth's acceptance is all but formalized. Your people must understand what's at stake. We do, Elias replied. That's why we're refusing. Virex's voice hardened. You presume to reject this council? Elias stared at him with eyes that had seen war on Europa's ice fields. We came in peace. We stayed in silence. Now you bring us contracts designed to strip our sovereignty, disguised as diplomacy. Rezar interjected, voice quivering. You can't stand alone against the galaxies. We already do, Elias said quietly. Virex took a step forward. You insult centuries of peace. No, Elias corrected. We decline to be managed. A tremor ran through the chamber floor, not from any quake, but from the collective agitation of so many powerful beings realizing they had made an error. A profound one. Virex's mask of diplomacy slipped. This is madness. You face consequences you cannot comprehend. Our fleets span systems. Our economy could erase you. Elias tilted his head. Then why offer us peace first? A murmur of unease passed through the council. Virex's response caught in his throat. He knew the truth, but he hadn't expected Elias to say it aloud. Earth's silence hadn't been from weakness. It had been calculation. Elias let the pause linger before he spoke again. You remember the first envoy Earth sent? The one that never returned. Counselor Lorien of the Yari Alliance shifted uncomfortably. That incident was regrettable. They died under your flag, Elias continued. And Earth remembered. Another long silence. Delegates now whispered not just in confusion but fear. Virex exhaled slowly, recomposing himself. Surely your people do not wish for isolation. Conflict benefits no one. There must be something you do want. Elias looked up to the stars filtering through the dome. We want dignity. And we will not sign it away. Without ceremony, he turned and began walking back toward the docking corridor. Virex's voice rang out. This is not finished. Elias paused. Not turning, not flinching. No. It's just begun. He stepped into the shadows of the corridor as council guards moved to follow, but Virex held up a clawed hand. Let him go. No one spoke for several moments after Elias disappeared from view. The treaty cube still lay on the floor, untouched. Virex stared at it, eyes narrow and calculating. Send word to High Command, he said. Prepare contingency protocols. Earth just became a threat. As Elias boarded his shuttle, he opened a secure transmission to Earth Command. Mission complete, he said. Treaty declined. As expected, they panicked. The AI on the other end replied with a monotone hum. Confirmation received. Contingency parameters remain green. Satellite networks aligned. Elias leaned back in the chair and allowed himself a rare breath. The chamber had felt like the edge of a cliff. But he hadn't fallen. Earth hadn't fallen. Let them scramble, he thought. Let them whisper in their glass towers. Because the next time Earth returned to the chamber, it wouldn't be to ask permission. He declined? Counselor Rezar's voice rose 3 octaves, his tendrils recoiling in disbelief. He declined? What does that mean? He said no and walked out. Virex Zul stood rigid on the upper tier of the Citadel's private war chamber. His claws tapped against the glass console, staring at the playback of Elias Rain's departure. Silent. Unshaken. Final. It means, Virex growled, they never intended to join us. Earth has weaponized pride. Rezar's voice trembled. Then we've misread everything. A hologram of the treaty cube spun slowly above the table. Still sealed. Untouched. The burn mark where Elias placed it on the chamber floor remained like a scar. Counselor Thalek of the Vorn Dominion shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we rushed the invitation. Humans are unpredictable. But if we extend new terms... They weren't here for terms, Virex snapped. They came to issue a warning. From a shadowed corner, Counselor Izel of the Quora swirled her data pool fingers into the console. I've traced satellite trajectories in Earth's sector. They've moved fleets into Mars and Europa within the last 19 cycles. Quietly. No announcements. No threats. Just placement. Defensive, someone muttered. Strategic, Izel corrected. A silent pause followed, broken only by the soft hum of planetary readings flickering across the dome. Virex turned. We are not discussing if they are hostile. We are now confirming when. That's preemptive logic, Thalek protested. It's survival instinct, Virex replied. Which they clearly have in abundance. Rezar swallowed. Then we must act. Before Earth does. And what will you do? Asked Izel, her voice calm. Attack Earth? Destroy their moon colonies? Risk open war? The question hovered. The Citadel had faced defiance before, but not like this. Not from a species so silent, yet so composed under pressure. Most would have begged for time, for compromise. Earth had done neither. They had rejected the Council without raising their voice. That was what frightened them most. Down in a restricted hangar bay, Elias Rain stood in silence, watching through a transparent wall as maintenance drones refueled the diplomatic shuttle. A soft chime rang in his comlink. Status? Asked Director Naira Halvani, speaking from Earth Command. Elias kept his eyes on the stars outside. Exactly as we planned. Zula's spiraling. The Council's in freefall. Any signs of retaliation? None yet. But their unity's cracking. Give it time. You think they'll lash out? Of course. Bullies always do once their bluff is called. There was a pause. Then Naira said, transmission leak worked. They've seen our orbital grid. Unofficially. Reactions? Elias allowed a faint grin. Terror, mostly. Naira's voice dropped. You were right not to trust them. We needed to show backbone. I didn't show them backbone, Elias replied. I showed them that we never needed them. Back in the council chamber, arguments exploded into open accusation. You led us into this farce. Councillor Drez of the Torban Clade bellowed. You promised compliance. Virex didn't blink. I promised the chance of compliance. Humanity failed to appreciate what we offered. And what exactly did we offer? Izel asked sharply. Surveillance? Disarmament cloaked in diplomacy? That's how order is maintained, Virex snapped. Then perhaps we no longer understand order, she replied. Screens lit up across the room with intercepted communications. One transmission looped, Earth is not your colony. It had spread. Across sectors, colonies once loyal to council rule were now questioning. Broadcasts of Elias's calm rejection echoed across neutral systems. Some praised it. Others watched in silence. Fear was contagious. Rizar hovered nervously near Virex. What do we do now? Virex stared at the treaty cube, now sealed behind a containment field. We send a warning. Target their satellite array. Disable communication. Nothing fatal, just a reminder. You want to strike them? Rizar asked. A small incision. Not war, leverage. Councillor Thalek shook his head. If they anticipated the treaty, they've prepared for this. Then we strike before they stabilize. Elias stepped into his shuttle. As it lifted from the Citadel's underbelly, the stars outside appeared sharper, hungrier. The AI chimed. Unauthorized launch detected from Council Bay 4. Destination, Sector V9 grid, Earth orbit. ETA? Elias asked. 7 hours. Payload unidentified. Elias exhaled slowly. So it begins. On board the Council's stealth drone, nothing stirred. It was a ghost weapon, no crew, no voice, no conscience. Its mission, black out Earth's upper grid, disable warning satellites, and prove Earth could still be humbled. But 3 minutes after launch, it disappeared. Not destroyed. Reclaimed. Hijacked by Earth's satellite defense matrix and rerouted to a Martian scrapyard. Not a shot fired. Not a flare missed. Just silence. Back in the Citadel, the console buzzed. Target gone, said Izel, scanning rapidly. Redirected. No trail. Virex's composure fractured. Impossible. No, she corrected. Human. Hours later, a single message arrived in the Council's central stream. Unencrypted. Broadcast wide. To Galactic Council. From Terran Defense Accord. Subject, your weapon. We have returned it. Intact. Next time, we won't. In Council silence, fear metastasized into something sharper, division. Rizar looked pale. They turned our weapon against us without firing a shot. Izel spoke for many. What else can they turn? The chamber filled with uncertainty. Voices fell. Decisions stalled. For the first time in over a century, the Council was splintering, not from war, but from the idea of one. From the idea of Earth. The Citadel's sky had changed. From within the towering observation deck, Chancellor Virex watched stars dim behind a growing cloud of doubt. Once symbols of power, the stars now looked like witnesses, silent, cold, and impossibly distant. Every report on his console told the same story: Earth had turned the weapon. Earth had sent no retaliation, no demands. Just a message, a warning lined with precision. He hadn't expected them to resist. He never imagined they'd anticipate every move. Virex turned to his aide. Status of Directive Umbra? The aide hesitated. Ready, Chancellor. But 3 member factions have refused cooperation. Yari, Korra, and the Pra Coalition. They've frozen their military support. Frozen? Virex narrowed his eyes. On what grounds? They're calling for re-evaluation. Some are questioning your authority to act unilaterally. Virex slammed a claw on the console. This is not a debate. This is containment. Down in the Quora embassy, Counselor Izel transmitted secure messages to her homeworld. Pull our fleets from neutral space, she said. We will not be pawns in another power sphere. The hologram of her admiral flickered. And Earth? She paused. We observe. We prepare. But we do not provoke. Back on Earth, deep beneath Greenland's ice sheet, Elias Rain stood inside Iron Dome's war room. He wore no uniform now, only a dark tunic, shoulders tense from long hours of silence. Naira Halvani paced across from him. Intercepts suggest they're fragmenting. Zul's making enemies within his own ranks. Elias nodded. Expected. But Pral's satellite feed shows something new, she added. Directive Umbra. We decrypted fragments. It's a council war doctrine, preemptive strike on infrastructure. Total paralysis. Elias narrowed his eyes. So he's desperate. Or reckless. He stared at the massive interface before them, showing planetary grids, orbital lines, and heat signatures from multiple systems. Either way, he said, they're trying to make Earth blink. And? He looked straight at her. We don't blink. In the Citadel's emergency chamber, Virex addressed select loyalist factions. Holograms of war generals hovered around him. Earth's silence is not peace, it's positioning, he said. They've hijacked our drones, countered our strategy, and now manipulate council optics. If we do not act, others will. Then what do you propose? Asked the Dracathy Warmaster. Virex tapped into the display, a map of Titan, Saturn's moon, recently colonized by Earth. We strike Titan. Minimal casualties. Heavy signal disruption. We cut their neural comms. They'll take the hint. And if they don't? Virex's voice turned sharp. Then we escalate. The Warmaster hesitated. We'll need authorization. You have mine. But not the Council's. Virex's silence was his answer. That night, a fleet of 7 cloak strike cruisers began their journey toward Titan. None of them flew Council banners. They bore the insignia of rogue actors, plausible deniability scripted by Virex himself. But Earth had eyes. As the ships neared Saturn, hidden satellites lit up. Earth's AI system, designated Argus, triggered Operation Veil. Titan's sky turned black, then pulsed. Every Council ship suddenly lost navigation, weapon lock, and internal AI guidance. Then, nothing. They floated, dead in orbit, systems erased. A single Terran relay drone emerged, beaming a message. You are trespassing. You are neutralized. Return empty or be removed permanently. No weapons. No explosions. Just precision. Silence. Control. The message reached the Citadel in 2 hours. By then, the Council was already on fire. I warned you. Counselor Drez shouted across the high chamber. This was an act of war. They never fired a single shot, Izel countered. Because they didn't need to. Thalek added, almost breathless. They shut down your entire fleet like it was a practice drill. Rizar fumbled with his comtab. My people are evacuating from border colonies. They're terrified. And who do we blame for that? Izel asked, turning toward Virex. The humans? Or the Chancellor who launched unauthorized attacks? Virex stood at the center, jaw clenched, surrounded by whispers, glances, and shifting loyalties. You think they'll spare us, he said. This is not diplomacy. It's domination. No, Izel replied, her voice low but steady. It's dignity. Something you mistook for weakness. In the Earth Intelligence Complex, Elias received the Titan report. No deaths. No damage. Just a clear, cold message returned. Naira folded her arms. They've lost control. Elias didn't respond immediately. He watched Titan's orbit stabilize on the screen. They're collapsing faster than we thought. Should we send a diplomatic envoy? No, he said. Let them feel the silence. It worked before. He turned to leave, but paused at the threshold. When the time is right, he said, we won't send ambassadors. We'll send invitations. In the Citadel's Grand Hall, a private vote was held. For the first time in its history, the council passed a motion of internal censure against its own chancellor. Virex watched the tally light up. Green. Green. Red. Green. The verdict was clear. A delegate approached him. You are no longer authorized to act on the council's behalf. Virex's eyes didn't blink. Then prepare for war. Because Earth won't stop now. But even as he spoke, he realized he no longer believed it. They weren't conquering. They were awakening something far worse. Respect. And in the council's game, respect was power. A storm of messages flooded the Citadel. They came not from Earth, but from across the galaxy, minor factions, border alliances, unaffiliated colonies. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Each had viewed the leaked Titan footage. Each had heard the line that now echoed across space. You are trespassing. You are neutralized. Return empty or be removed permanently. There had been no theatrics. No war drums. Just capability. Unmistakable. Measured. And something more dangerous than hostility, composure. In the main chamber, Chancellor Virex sat in silence, not as a leader, but as a relic. The council had stripped him of command. Now he observed as Earth's silence reshaped the balance of power. Councillor Izel stood before the assembly. We must vote again, this time, not on war, but recognition. Recognition, scoffed Thalic. Of Earth? They undermined us. Outsmarted us. They've humiliated the council. They earned it, she said. And they never struck first. Whispers filled the room. Some still seated. Others had shifted, no longer afraid, but curious. The galaxy was changing, and Earth had moved first. Far from the Citadel, beneath Earth's frozen crust, Elias Rain reviewed new transmissions. His hands were steady, his posture unmoved. He'd just returned from a classified inspection of Europa's defense grid. Naira Halvani entered quietly, tablet in hand. You're not going to believe this. I probably will, Elias said without looking up. 6 factions just reached out. Unofficially. They want dialogue. Not submission. Alliance. On equal terms. He looked at her now. They finally believe we belong here. No, she corrected, setting the tablet down. They believe we never needed their permission. Elias exhaled. Not in relief, he didn't trust relief. But something shifted behind his eyes. Not hope. Not pride. Readiness. Tell them, he said, we'll listen. On Vosterin, the council reconvened for an emergency summit. Not to plan Earth's containment, but to decide its status. Rizar addressed the floor. We called them primitive. Isolated. But we were wrong. Earth has grown teeth behind silence. And more than that, they used restraint when others would have used vengeance. And what does that make us? Asked Thalic. Fools? No, said Izel. Witnesses. To the return of a power we thought extinct, honor without fear. A vote commenced. One by one, spheres lit green. The motion passed. The council, once Earth's judge, now became its equal. A seat, untethered, unrestricted, was offered. Not demanded. Offered. Elias received the news hours later. Formal vote passed, Naira reported. They want to extend the seat. Not as a protectorate. As a sovereign. Elias stared out at the map of the stars. You believe them? No, she said honestly. But I believe they're afraid enough to act with respect. He turned from the stars and Saturday then we attend. Not to join. To watch. And if they try anything? Elias's voice remained flat. Then we remind them. Again. In the chamber where Earth had once declined, Elias Rain walked again, same uniform, same steady stride. This time, the chamber was quiet not with arrogance, but caution. He stopped at the center, where the treaty cube had once rested. Now, there was nothing. No pedestal. No documents. Just open floor. Virex, still seated but no longer leading, spoke first. You return. Elias nodded. We do. No demand. No conditions. No terms? None, Elias replied. But we are listening. Counselor Izel stepped forward. Then allow us to begin again. No treaties. No contracts. Just truth. Elias considered the room, this time filled not with assumption, but calculation. You assumed we would beg, he said. You expected fear. We gave you silence. He stepped forward. You thought our silence meant ignorance. It meant preparation. Another step. You offered us unity cloaked in control. We declined not to provoke, but to preserve. He paused in the exact spot where the cube once lay. And now you speak not because you want to, but because you know you must. Silence followed. Not stunned. Not angry. Thoughtful. Later, aboard the Terran shuttle, Elias stood by the viewport. You think they'll hold? Naira asked. No, he said. But they'll hesitate. That's all we needed, wasn't it? Elias nodded slowly. Hesitation is the beginning of respect. A soft chime interrupted them. The AI voice pulsed in. New message received. Origin, Yari Independent Cluster. Title, Joint Initiative Proposal. Subject, Defense Collaboration. Naira raised a brow. That makes 12. Elias stared at the stars. Then we're no longer just part of the conversation. We're shaping it. In the Citadel's sealed archive, the treaty cube still sat, untouched, darkened by time. A custodian asked quietly, shall we dispose of it? Virex stared at it from behind a force field. No, he said. Leave it. Why? Because someday, he said slowly, someone will ask why Earth refused. And what should we say? Virex looked away. That they didn't refuse. They redefined. In the dark between stars, a single Terran War satellite remained idle. Still. Watching. A beacon blinked beneath its frame. Stand by.